Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video here on my YouTube channel. And for today's review, we are reviewing the Wells Ranch series by Bailey Hanna. This is a cowboy romance series. Now this one is a solid 5-star series, especially the last book. So fantastic. So the first book is Alive in Wells. Now this follows Cecily Kennedy and Austin Wells. He is the oldest Wells brothers, and he's like kind of in charge of the business and finance aspects of the ranch. Now Cecily ends up coming to work at the ranch because she had been communicating on a community board online with a woman about her abusive husband, and she was struggling to be able to leave her husband. And then one night, because she kept rationalizing it, saying he's never hit me, he's never been physically abusive with me, and then he hit her one night, and she ends up messaging Beryl and is like, I would like to come if the job offer is still there. And Beryl, who is the kitchen manager for the ranch, is like, yes, it's still there. So she ends up coming and she works on the ranch. And Austin Wells does not know her story at all at first. So the minute he sees her on the ranch, I guess he notices that she's beautiful because he does not want her to work at the ranch. He's basically like, she is going to be a distraction for my ranch hands, and he doesn't want her there. But then he starts to learn her story and why she came here, and he falls in love with her. And then he ends up sticking up for her when her ex finds her, because she gave out her number to somebody she thought was a good friend of hers from her old life. But it turns out that friend gave her phone number to her ex, her husband, and her husband ends up finding out where she is and comes on the ranch, and then he ends up punching her husband, and then also forces her husband to sign divorce papers that he had prepared for her. Fantastic. A solid 4.5 stars out of 5 stars. The second book in the series is Seeing Red. Now, this does not follow one of the Wells brothers. This actually follows one of the ranch hands, Chase, who goes by the nickname Red Thompson, and then Cassidy Bowman. So Cassidy Bowman works at the local bar, the Horseshoe Bar, if I'm not mistaken, because her father owns it. And Chase, or Red Thompson, frequents the bar. Basically, she does not like Chase. She has no interest in him at all. He has kind of had an interest in her, but knows that she's sort of off limits. And then they are at a fair. He happens to be at the fair, a rodeo, excuse me. She also happens to be at the rodeo, and it turns out her ex is there with the girl that he cheated on her with. And so she propositions him and is like, hey, would you want to hook up with me on the hood of my ex's car, as revenge? And so that's what happened. And then she ends up realizing, or taking a test and realizing she's pregnant, and he's the dad. So it is an accidental pregnancy where they are not together, but he is all in, willing to be there for her. And then they slowly fall in love with each other. And then when she tells her dad that she is with him, her dad is totally against it because of what her father was like. Her father was a bad, what his father was like, excuse me, because his father was a bad drunk, and basically was they escaped his family left the town because of his father's terrible reputation, but then he came back and asked for a job at Wells Ranch, and that's why he's here. So because of his father's reputation, it sort of followed him, but then he proves her father wrong. And fantastic book, solid 5 stars. Okay, so the third book in the series is Change of Heart. Now, this one is a second chance romance. This follows one of the Wells brothers. So it follows Denver Wells, who goes by Denny, and then Blair Hart. Now, they were high school sweethearts that fell in love, and then she left town to go to the city of Vancouver to go to school, to go to college. He was supposed to follow her, and then his mother died, and then he was like, oh, maybe I'll go in a year, but it turns out he never went. And then there's something that happened, because this flip backs between the present and the past. So I'm mainly talking about the past flashback chapters. Something happened in the third act in the flashback chapters that leads to their breakup. I won't go into the detail because I don't want to spoil it. I think you should read it. And then in the present chapters, the book starts with Blair coming back to town because her mother was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. And so she's here to help her dad and her sister care for her mother. And she tries to stay away from Denver just because of how the breakup caused her so much pain. But slowly she realizes that he is the only one for her, and he remembers by seeing her that he has always loved her and never stopped loving her. And I am a sucker for a second chance romance, so I would give this one a solid 5 stars. This is the fourth book in a series. This is Whit's End. So this actually follows Blair's sister, Whitney Hart, and then Colt. I'm kind of forgetting his last name right now. So let's use that. So it follows Whit and Colt. Basically, Whitney is a single mother with, and her ex, the father of her 10-year-old son, Jonas, he's kind of very flaky. Anytime he said he's gonna come and hang out with his son, he ends up, like, not coming because something happens. And her son is, like, troublesome at school. He was almost going to actually be expelled from school, but she was able to get the principal to say no. Like, as long as nothing else happened in the last 2 weeks of the school year, he can stay. But he did get suspended, I think, for, like, a day or two. So she needed somebody to watch her son while she was working from home. She had asked her sister, Blair, if she could do it, and Blair said yes. But then Blair's boyfriend wanted to take some of the load off of Blair's big to-do list. So he asked Colt, who is one of the ranch hands at Wells Ranch, if he could go pick up Jonas and bring him to the ranch and just give him work to do. And so that's what Colt does. He meets Whit for the first time by going to her house to pick up her son. She's a little bit like, I don't know if I want to, like, have my son in your care because of, like, the shirt he was wearing. She kind of found it inappropriate to wear that kind of a shirt in front of a 10-year-old. And then he takes the shirt, flips it inside out. Because one of his, like, quirks is that he likes to buy a lot of vintage shirts from, like, garage sales and stuff, and then just, like, cut off the sleeve and, like, cut the armhole, like, really, really long. And so he ends up keeping to come pick up Jonas because Jonas keeps going back to the ranch to work. He actually spends most of the summer working at the ranch. And so he keeps seeing Whit, and they fall in love, and she is sort of trying to not really be with him because of something. She actually had a hysterectomy after like a complication with her pregnancy with Jonas 10 years ago, so she can't have any kids. And he has kind of talked about wanting more kids, and well, not wanting more because he doesn't have any kids himself, but wanting kids. And so she just sort of tells him at some point, like, hey, I can't have any kids and you shouldn't be with me because of that. But he still wants to be with her, but he kind of messes up by walking out and not staying with her the minute she said that. So this is a beautiful story of them falling in love and him realizing that he also loves her son, and that if the only kids they can have is her son, he will be happy because he's in love with both her and her son. Again, a solid 5 stars for this one. And now the 5th and final book in the series is Love Well Kept. I would give this one a solid 6 stars. This one is drowning in emotional depth. It is so fantastic. So this follows Jackson Wells and Kate. Now, we have seen them in all 4 books. They are already married, but at the beginning of this book, he's supposed to go to an auction to buy a horse for his 8-year-old daughter, and then he's, like, hitching up the trailer to be able to go to the auction to buy a horse. And he tells the daughter, like, don't stray too far. She goes in the barn. She screams. He goes after her in the barn. We don't really know what happened. We just know that she went into the stall of a horse that doesn't have a good temperament. And I think he got, like, kicked by the horse or hit by the horse. He has a traumatic brain injury. It's put in a medically induced coma. And then when he wakes up from the coma, he does not remember his wife or his children. And, like, he's like to her, he's like, who are you? She's like, your wife, Kate? And he's like, I don't have a wife. What do you mean? And so you get to see the journey of them of him falling in love with her again, and hoping, like, and she kind of hopes that he gets his memories back, but he kind of gets some back. He gets, like, 10% of his memories back, but 90% of his memories are gone, like memories of his wedding, of the birth of his children, so many key important moments that he misses. And she is just struggling with the fact that he doesn't really remember her, and that he, like, has to start falling in love with her over again. And she has all of these memories that are now one-sided, and it's very, very difficult. Like, this was just so beautiful. And even at one point in the story, it's when her husband is still in the hospital. It's after he woke up from his medically induced coma and doesn't remember who she is. She's at home. She wakes up one morning because it turns out she's pregnant, and he knew that before he got into the accident. But post-accident, she didn't say anything yet to him. And it turns out she actually had a miscarriage, and then she sort of, like, keeps that from him because she doesn't want to like add to his plate of like recovering from the brain injury. And then I think it's in the third act where she tells him like, hey, like I was actually like before your brain injury you knew that I was pregnant, and like after you woke up I actually had a miscarriage. And the way that he falls in love with her again and realizes that she is just like, he is so lucky to have her and he feels like he doesn't deserve her. This one is sad, and there were so many moments where I wanted to cry both for her and for him, but I'm just like, I'm not somebody who's like super like a big crier, but I felt myself like my eyes starting to well up a bit. I felt like I was almost going to cry. Like, this was such an emotionally heavy book, but it was so fantastic. Like, I would probably give it a solid 6 stars, and I literally probably will keep recommending this book if you want a emotionally heavy cowboy romance book. This whole series is honestly so fantastic. Plus, it's a Canadian cowboy romance, so there are references to poutine and to coffee crisp, I think, and also to ketchup chips, which are all like Canadian exclusive treats. So yeah, it was so fun to read. Like, this whole series, I give it like a solid 5-star rating. So that is all for this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments down below. If you would like to see more videos like this one, you can hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss another brand new video from me. You can also follow me at RomanceBLVD on Instagram and Threads, and at Romance Boulevard, all spelled out, on TikTok. Until the next one, bye!